Today, I'm here with a book review, and we're going to be reviewing Pray Big Things, the surprising life God has for you when you're bold enough to ask, by Jeffress Sadler. So this is the book review, so I'm going to be looking at my notes just so that we are in line with what the author has actually written in the book. Hey fam, how are you doing today? Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Toby Achilime. So here on this channel, we talk about topics, tips, and tricks that help us grow fearlessly to the best versions of ourselves. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for being here. I hope that you enjoyed this video as much as you've enjoyed the other ones. Please do not forget to subscribe to this channel so you get notified when we have new videos up. Pray Big Things reassures us that God is actually able to do the things that He says He wants to do for us, the things that we desire in our hearts, and the wants and needs that we have with Him, the wants and the needs that we are asking Him of. The problem is that a lot of times we forget to actually pray about these things and we end up worrying a lot about it. There's a reason why the Bible tells us that God is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above what we can ask, think, or imagine according to the power that works through us. This book then brings this Bible verse from being a bunch of words put together by the author of that particular book of the Bible to words that are actually true and life. It brings it to a reality that if you actually ask God of the things that you want, your desires and your wants and needs, He is able to do exactly that and even go the extra mile, which is the God that we serve. It does more than you can ask or think. One of the reasons, as clearly seen in this book, why we end up worrying more than praying is that we, number one, think that our desires, needs, and wants are very vain, or we think that we are being selfish with it. I know that this is something that I struggled with a lot of times. I always think that if I'm asking God for certain things, I'm being vain in my ask, or I'm being selfish in my ask. But that's not even what is important, because when you have a desire, when you have a needs and wants, yes, it's possible that you're being selfish with it, but God loves you so much to the point that even those needs and wants, it's not that He doesn't want you to have them, He just wants you to have them in the right time. And then when it comes to desires, a lot of time the desires that you have in your heart, so when it comes to the goals, the dreams, and the visions that you want to work with, they are desires that God has put in us for us to have, because He wants us to be the people that work with those desires coming to life, from being just dreams and visions to actually being a reality. So when you have desires, it is not for you to think that you're being vain or selfish with it. It's for you to actually pray through it. Pray these desires and then let God decide if you are being vain or selfish about it. Another reason why we end up worrying more than praying is that there is a tiny bit of doubt in our hearts when it comes to trusting God to do more than we ask or think. We have maybe just a sprinkle of doubt in our hearts that stops you from believing that God is actually able to do all the things that you know that He's going to, all the things that you've heard and seen and read that He's able to do. So you've heard testimonies, you've read the Bible and seen all the miracles that God performed and Jesus performed, and you just still feel like, maybe He's not going to do it for me. The fact that He did it for Joseph, or He did it for David, or He did it for even Julia, doesn't mean that He's going to want to do it for me. So there is a form of doubt in our heart. And so this book is going to help us to elevate this doubt and help you to also stop thinking that you're being vain or selfish in your ask from God. So just before we step into the lessons that I got from this book, let's talk a little bit about the author. So her name is Jeffress Sadler, and she's a licensed professional counselor and a ministry director. She's a ministry director in a Baptist church, I think, that is home to 15,000 members. She's a conference speaker. She's a TV host of a show called Unapologetic and Kids Bible Stories. She's married to Ryan, and she's blessed with a miracle triplet. And so from all of these things that I've said, which are seen as big things, as she explains in the book, she prayed for these things to become a manifestation, and they manifested. Now back to the book and the lessons that I got from it. Number one is that you need to make a list of the things, the desires, the wants, and the needs that you have. So if you're going to be praying big things, you have to have a list of these big things that you're praying for. You're not going to always have them stored up in your head, because the brain is very amazing. in the sense that it will remind you of things that you don't want to remember, and the things that you actually want to remember, you will not remember when you actually need to remember them. So make a list of these big things. And she tells us that herself and her husband, Ryan, did this when they just got married. They made a list of all of the big things that they wanted to have, and then they prayed with the list that they had. So what it helped them to do is that it kept it not just for them to imagine that these are the things that they want to see, but they were able to always read it and profess it and claim that these were the things that they wanted to see God do with them and for them. And they actually saw the results of all of these things. Number one being that they prayed to have a reality TV show so that they could be evangelists of the gospel on TV and as reality stars, and God did that for them. Another thing that she did was that she believed God for a book deal, and she got a book deal with this book, Pray Big Things. So she tells us that if you are going to want to get big things from God, you need to have a list. Not that you need to have, but it helps you to have a list of the big things that you're requesting from God. There is so much power in writing things down that we underestimate, because when you make a list of the things that you want to see, of your prayer points, it reminds you of what you are praying for. It reminds you of what you're hoping for. And then it also helps you to be determined that this is exactly what you want to see. You're determined about what you are asking for. So it's not a fleeting request. It's not a request that in a few days or in a few hours you're going to forget about it. It is something that you are passionate about and you actually want to see it become a reality. These are the things that making a list does. And I know that if you have been watching my channel, you know that I talk about making a list all the time. And that includes making a list of the big things that you want God to do for you. Number 2 lesson, which was more of a reminder, is that God feels your pain. I think that one of the most amazing things about Jesus becoming man and coming to earth is that it helped us to see that the God that we serve is a God that feels. There's a part of the Bible that tells us that we do not serve a high priest that is ignorant of how we feel. I'm paraphrasing it, but that's not the exact words. I'm going to have the scripture on the screen. What it tells you is that the God that we serve is a God that feels what you have felt. It tells us that he loved the world so much. He loves the world so much that he gave his only begotten son. So even from that verse, you see that God feels love and also God feels pain, because when you lose someone, your only son, what's the feeling that you're going to feel with that? So God feels when you feel. When you're in pain, he definitely feels the pain. If he loves you to the point of giving a son, best believe that he's feeling the pain that you feel when somebody has broken your heart, or when you have lost a job, or when you have lost a child, or when you have whatever it is that you have gone through. He feels the pain as much as you feel it. Having that at the back of your mind also tells you that as a loving father, he's not going to want you to dwell in the place of pain. So that means that as much as you're feeling the pain and he's feeling the pain, he's in it with you, and he's looking out for ways to make sure that you stop feeling this pain. So he's ready to comfort you when he needs to comfort you. He's ready to give you an answer when he needs to give you an answer. He's ready to make sure that the pain that you're feeling is not an eternal pain, but is one that at the end of it, there is songs of rejoicing that comes from it. So God feels pain when you're feeling pain. When you're in pain, he's feeling pain. That means that he's not the one that caused the pain. Also means that he's not going to be wicked with the pain to leave you in it. He's going to want to make sure that you come out of it, and you're coming out of it victorious. One of the comforting things about this is that you know that God cannot love us the way he loves us and not feel the pains that we feel, for him to not want to give us a solution to the problems that we face that makes us to be in this pain. So he is mindful of you, he's mindful of us, and that means that he's interested in us being prosperous and being great, living a good life. Yes, he's interested in us having that. So when you're going through hard times, you need to know that God is in the hard times with you, and he's definitely looking for how to bring you out of the hard times, which is what he did for them. Because what happened to them was that the author, so Julia and her husband Ryan, was that they had been married for a few years, and all through the pregnancies that they had, they were always having miscarriages. So they lost, I forgot how many miscarriages that they had, but I know that it's a lot, because she says that anytime they would go for celebrations to celebrate with their friends that got pregnant and then gave birth to the children that they got pregnant with, obviously, they would always be reminded that they had had miscarriages that could have ended up with live children. So they had lost babies and they had lost deals as well. But what kept her strong, or what kept her sane, in as much as she was feeling the pain, was knowing that God wasn't going to leave them in a place of always having to encounter miscarriages. They knew that at the end of the day, they were going to have their miracle children, which they did, because they then ended up having triplets, which is amazing. Point number 3 is that you always want to give thanks. The Bible tells us to give thanks in all situations and to give thanks at all times. It even tells us that if you're bringing requests to God, you should bring these requests and supplications with thanksgiving. So there is a lot of benefits that comes when you are a person that is mindful of gratitude. You're always grateful. You always remember that you need to be grateful to God for something. If for nothing, the fact that you set your alarm and the alarm woke you up in the morning, because it's not alarm that wakes you up, it's the fact that there is still life in us that gets us out of bed every morning. So you want to be a person that is always giving thanks all the time. One quick way to miss out of what God is doing for you and to you and through you is that you forget to give thanks. You stop being conscious of the things that God has done for you, which is very easy to do, especially when you are in a season of hard time. You get clouded by seeing only the things that are not working. So it's an intentional effort for you to focus on things to be grateful for, even in your hard times and dark seasons. So giving thanks to God in all seasons means that you're giving thanks to God when it's raining, when it's cloudy, when it's stormy, when it's windy, and when it's sunny. It's not just when everything is good. You're giving thanks to God also when it feels like everything is bad. So giving thanks to God is going to help us greatly. Something that is fixed certain knowledge about God is that it tells us that everything is going to work out for our good. And so that means that even the things that are looking wrong and the bad things is still going to end up working out for your good. So that is something that you want to hold on to. And I think that's something that we should even use to be grateful to God all the time, because you are just reminded that as bad as it is, it's still going to end up working out for my good. And the last point that I'm going to share from this book, which is point number 4, is that you want to make sure that you keep your eyes on God. When you're praying for big things, you want to make sure that you're focused on God and it is all that you're focused on. You're not thinking of any other thing. You're not looking at problems. You're not looking at the hard times. You're not thinking, I've tried this before and it failed or anything. You want to make sure that you are consistently looking at God and staying on God. So you don't want to at any point take your eyes away from Him. 2 major reasons why is that, number 1, when you take your eyes off God, what it tells you is that you have an alternative plan to making these big things become a reality. If your eyes are taken off God, it means that you're thinking of a plan B, C, D, E, and as many plans as you're coming up with that is going to help you to achieve these big things without God. What we need to know is that God is the author and the finisher. He's the one that is going to help you to do all of these things that you want to do. You cannot do it by your own strength. You cannot do it by your own ability. If you take your eyes off God, you're telling God that you can do it by your own strength and your ability, and that's a big flop. The second reason why you want to make sure that your eyes are always on God is that when you take your eyes off God, that means you're looking at fear and doubt. When you doubt God's ability to do these big things, then it means that you are no longer praying for the big things, but you are now worrying about the big things. You begin to ask yourself questions like, how is this going to happen? When is it going to happen? Am I not late? Is this not happening in the right way that it's supposed to be? And these are things that you don't want to do, because when there is doubt in your heart, then that means there is no faith in your heart. And we know that faith is the currency by which we operate in the kingdom of God. So if you're going to pray big things and expect big things to happen, your eyes need to be on God consistently to make sure that when He does this thing, you know that the only person that gets the glory is God. So these are 4 lessons that I got from the book Pray Big Things. You can either get the book on Amazon, I'm going to have links in the description bar, or you can listen or read digitally on Everand. So Everand is a book app. I talk about Everand a lot at this point, but I'm going to have a link in the description bar for you to get it for free for 2 months and then decide if you're going to have it. It's a book application where you can read or listen to books, any type of book, Christian books, motivational books, personal development books, and even novels. If you would like to see that, check the link in the description bar if you want to get the hard copy or the physical copy on Amazon, I'm also going to have it linked in the description box so that your purchase journey is easy. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have read this book or listened to it, let me know in the comment section. Leave a comment in the comment section. If you would like to get it as well, let me know. Any comments on the book review, I'm open to seeing your comment. I love to see it actually. Thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to give it a thumbs up, share with your friends and family if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't. I'll see you guys in the next one. Till next time, bye.